Ethan Cole sat alone in the cockpit of his cargo ship, the Horizon, watching stars drift by through the large window. He leaned back in his chair, sipping cold coffee. His ship was old but strong, just like him. He had been flying between planets for years, carrying goods no one else wanted to move. Life in space was quiet, and that's how Ethan liked it, or so he thought. Suddenly, the alarm on his control panel beeped loudly. Ethan sat up, spilling some coffee on his shirt. "What now?" he muttered, wiping the mess with his sleeve. His AI assistant, Vera, spoke in her calm, robotic voice. "Captain, there is a distress signal coming from a nearby shuttle. Coordinates are being uploaded to navigation now." Ethan frowned. A distress signal out here. This part of space was empty, or at least it was supposed to be. "Vera, give me a visual." The screen lit up, showing a small shuttle drifting in space. It was turning slowly, clearly out of control. Parts of its hull were burned, and it looked like it might fall apart any second. "Life signs?" Ethan asked. "2 life forms detected," Vera replied. "Weak but stable. Unknown species." Ethan rubbed his chin. Most people would fly right past a broken ship, but Ethan was not like most people. He couldn't leave someone out there to die, even if they weren't human. "All right, Vera. Let's go say hello." With a gentle hand on the controls, Ethan guided the Horizon closer to the shuttle. As he got near, he could see just how bad it was. Sparks flew from its engines, and cracks ran along its sides. "Prepare to dock," Ethan said. "Docking now," Vera answered. With a soft thud, the 2 ships connected. Ethan grabbed his repair kit and walked to the airlock. The door hissed open, and cold air rushed past him. Inside the shuttle, it was dark and quiet. Flashlight in hand, Ethan stepped inside. "Hello," he called. "Anyone here? I'm here to help." From the corner of the shuttle, a small voice answered, "Hello." Ethan turned his light toward the sound and gasped. 2 small alien twins sat huddled together. They looked no older than 10 in human years. Their skin was light blue and shimmered slightly, like moonlight on water. They had large, bright eyes and thin antennae on their heads that twitched when they looked at Ethan. "Don't be scared," Ethan said gently, kneeling down to their level. "I'm a human. I'm here to help you." The twins looked at each other, unsure. "I'm Zyra," said the girl softly. "And I'm Kilo," added the boy, trying to be braver than his sister. Ethan smiled. "Nice to meet you, Zyra and Kilo. I'm Ethan. Let's get you out of here." "But our ship," Zyra began. "Your ship's in bad shape. It's not going anywhere," Ethan said kindly. "Come on, you'll be safe on my ship." After a moment, the twins nodded. Ethan helped them stand and led them back through the airlock into the Horizon. As they stepped inside, Vera greeted them. "Welcome aboard, young passengers. You are safe now." The twins looked around in wonder. "You live here?" Kilo asked, his eyes wide. Ethan chuckled. "Yeah, it's not much, but it gets me where I need to go." He showed them to a small lounge area and gave them some water and food. The twins ate quickly, clearly very hungry. Ethan sat across from them, watching. "So," Ethan said, "what happened out there? Why were you alone in that shuttle?" The twins looked at each other again, and this time Kilo spoke first. "We were running away," he said quietly. "Running away? From what?" Ethan asked, surprised. Zyra fidgeted with her cup. "From home. From our family." Ethan raised an eyebrow but didn't press them. They looked too scared to talk about it now. "Well, you're safe with me. No one's going to bother you here," Ethan promised. Just then, Vera's voice came through the speaker, calm but serious. "Captain, I've detected an unknown ship on the scanner. It's moving toward us." Ethan stood up quickly. "What kind of ship?" "Unknown class. Large. Cloaked until now." Zyra and Kilo froze. "They found us," Zyra whispered, her eyes wide with fear. Ethan looked from the twins to the control screen, where the mysterious ship was now clearly visible and coming fast. "Looks like things just got interesting," Ethan muttered, heading for the cockpit. Ethan sat in the cockpit of the Horizon, watching the unknown ship move closer on the screen. It was big, much bigger than his little cargo ship. Vera, the AI assistant, showed a red light flashing on the screen. "They are scanning us, Captain," Vera said calmly. Ethan frowned. "Scanning? Why would they scan an old cargo ship like mine?" Behind him, Zyra and Kilo peeked nervously through the door. "Is that them?" Kilo whispered. Ethan turned to look at the twins. "Who are they? You said someone was chasing you. Who are they, and why?" Zyra shook her head quickly. We can't say." Ethan sighed. "Look, kids, I just risked my neck to get you off that broken shuttle. If someone dangerous is following you, I need to know what I'm up against." The twins looked at each other, but before they could speak, Vera interrupted. "Captain, the unknown ship has stopped moving. It is holding position nearby." Ethan rubbed his forehead. "Great, just great." He stood up. "All right, you two. Why don't you come with me? I'll show you around the ship. You'll feel safer that way." Zyra and Kilo nodded slowly, following Ethan as he walked out of the cockpit. The Horizon was small but cozy. The walls were filled with tools, wires, and blinking lights. The air smelled of metal and coffee, Ethan's favorite drink. "This is the kitchen," Ethan said, waving to a small room with a table and chairs. "Not much, but the food's good." Kilo's eyes lit up. "Do you have sweet snacks?" Ethan chuckled. "Maybe. I'll check later." He led them to another room. "This is the engine room, where the magic happens." Zyra looked at the glowing engine core with wide eyes. "It's so small. Our ships at home are much bigger." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Oh, so you're used to big ships, huh?" The twins went quiet again, but Ethan didn't push them. Instead, he kept walking. Finally, they reached a small room with 2 bunks. "You can sleep here," Ethan said. "It's not fancy, but it's warm and safe." Zyra sat on the bottom bunk, looking around. "Thank you, Ethan." Kilo climbed to the top bunk, smiling a little. "Yeah, thanks." Ethan smiled back. "You're welcome. Now let me check what that ship outside wants." He walked back to the cockpit. Vera was waiting. "Captain, they are sending a message," Vera said. "Put it on," Ethan replied. A smooth, cold voice filled the room. "Human vessel, this is Commander Rawl of the Sarthan Empire. You are harboring 2 fugitives. Hand them over, and no harm will come to you." Ethan leaned on the control panel. "Fugitives? They're just kids. Do not be fooled. They are wanted. You have 10 minutes to comply." The message ended, and the screen went black. Ethan stared at the blank screen, thinking hard. "Vera," he said quietly, "scan that ship. What are we dealing with?" Vera answered, "Heavy armor. Advanced weapons, far superior to this vessel." Ethan sighed. "Of course, always the big guys." Suddenly, he heard a crash from the hallway. Rushing out, he found Kilo sitting on the floor, a metal box beside him. "Sorry," Kilo said quickly. "I was trying to see what's in here." Ethan laughed a little. "You're curious, aren't you?" Kilo smiled sheepishly. Ethan picked up the box and set it back. "You're safe here, but you need to be careful. My ship may be small, but she's got a lot of moving parts." Zyra came running over. "Did they say anything?" "The ship outside." Ethan looked at her. "Yeah, they want me to hand you over." The twins' faces turned pale. "You won't, will you?" Zyra asked quietly. Ethan paused, then shook his head. "No, I won't. You're my guests, and humans don't give up kids to strangers." The twins' eyes filled with relief. But Ethan added, "I need to know the truth. Why are they after you?" Kilo looked at Zyra, and she nodded. We're not just kids, Zyra said softly. We're royal twins. Our family is part of the Sarthan Empire, but we didn't want to stay there. We wanted to be free. Ethan blinked. Royal? Like prince and princess? Kilo nodded. Yes, but we don't want to be. They want to take us back. They'll force us to do things we don't want. Ethan sat down, thinking. This was bigger than he expected. Well, he said at last, looks like I've got myself into a royal mess. The twins giggled, and Ethan smiled. Vera's voice came through again. Captain, the Sarthan ship is charging something, possibly a tractor beam. Ethan stood up fast. All right, kids, he said with a grin. Looks like it's time to get creative. Let's see if we can give them a little surprise. Zyra and Kilo's eyes shone with excitement. What can we do? Kilo asked eagerly. Ethan pointed to the engine room. You two know alien tech, right? Then you're going to help me make this ship a little harder to catch. The twins nodded, ready to help. As they hurried to the engine room, Ethan smiled to himself. He may be alone in space, but now he had a team. And maybe a family. Ethan, Zyra, and Kilo stood together in the Horizon's small engine room. Lights blinked on the walls, and the soft hum of the engines filled the air. Outside, the Sarthan Empire ship still hovered close, watching them. Ethan rubbed his hands together. All right, team, he said, trying to sound cheerful. If we don't want to be caught, we need a plan. Kilo looked worried. But their ship is so much bigger and stronger. Ethan smiled and winked. Sometimes being small is an advantage. Zyra tilted her head. What do you mean? Ethan pointed to the glowing core of the Horizon's engine. Our ship may not be powerful, but she's fast and smart, and with your help, she can be even better. The twins exchanged glances. We can help, Zyra said firmly. We know how to boost engines like this. Kilo nodded. And we know how to hide from scanners. Ethan raised his eyebrows. Hide from scanners. Now that's interesting. The twins smiled, feeling braver now. All right, let's get to work, Ethan said. Together, they started fixing wires, adjusting panels, and reprogramming the ship's systems. Zyra climbed up to a high shelf and connected 2 loose cables. This will make the energy flow faster. Kilo worked near the engine core, typing quickly on a small screen. I'm changing the scanner signal. If they try to scan us again, they'll see a piece of space junk. Ethan laughed. Smart. Very smart. As they worked, Vera's voice echoed through the ship. Captain, the Sarthan ship is sending another message. Ethan wiped his hands on a cloth. Put it on, Vera. The cold, smooth voice of Commander Rawl filled the room again. Human, your time is almost over. Hand over the royal twins, or we will take them by force. Ethan rolled his eyes. Always making threats, he muttered. He pressed a button to reply. Sorry, Commander, but I'm not in the habit of handing over kids to strangers. You'll have to find someone else to bully today. Zyra and Kilo looked at Ethan with wide eyes. No one had ever spoken to a Sarthan commander like that before. Message sent, Vera confirmed. Kilo grinned. You're really brave, Ethan. Ethan smiled, but inside, he was nervous. Still, he couldn't let the kids see that. All right, Ethan said, standing up straight. Now let's test those upgrades. They all moved to the cockpit. Zyra and Kilo sat on either side of Ethan, watching as he pressed buttons and flipped switches. Vera, start engine boost, Ethan commanded. Engine boost active, Vera replied. The ship's engines roared softly, and Ethan could feel the extra power. We've got speed now, he said with a grin. Then he looked at Kilo. Ready to hide us from scanners. Kilo nodded. Do it now, Vera. Scanner signal masked, Vera confirmed. We are now invisible to standard Sarthan scans. Zyra clapped her hands. It worked. But just then, the screen blinked. Captain, Vera said, "The Sarthan ship is powering up a tractor beam." Ethan frowned. "They want to pull us in. Not good." He thought fast. "Time to fly," he said, gripping the controls. With a sudden burst of speed, the Horizon shot forward, turning sharply away from the Sarthan ship. Stars turned into bright lines as they moved faster and faster. In the cockpit, Zyra and Kilo laughed with excitement. "We're going so fast," Kilo shouted. "Hold on tight," Ethan said, smiling. But then Vera spoke again. "Captain, the Sarthan ship is following. They are faster than expected." Ethan's smile faded. "Of course they are," he muttered. Kilo pointed at the screen. "What if we hide in that asteroid field?" Ethan looked. A field of large floating rocks was just ahead. "That's risky," Ethan said. "But they won't be able to follow easily," Zyra added. Ethan thought for a moment, then nodded. "All right, let's do it." He turned the Horizon toward the asteroid field. As they entered, giant rocks floated all around them. Ethan had to steer carefully, dodging left and right. Behind them, the Sarthan ship tried to follow, but it was too big. It couldn't move quickly enough between the rocks. "They're slowing down," Kilo cheered. Zyra clapped. "We did it. They can't catch us." Ethan grinned. "Nice thinking, you two. You just outsmarted one of the biggest ships in the galaxy." As they flew deeper into the asteroid field, Vera spoke again. "Captain, message received from an unknown source." Ethan looked at the twins. "Another one. Play it." Vera. A new voice filled the ship, calm, friendly, and curious. "To the human ship helping the royal twins. We have been watching. Perhaps we can help each other." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Well, looks like we've got new friends, or maybe new trouble." Zyra and Kilo looked at him with curious eyes. "What do we do now?" Zyra asked. Ethan smiled. Now we find out who's on our side." As they floated safely between the asteroids, the stars twinkling outside, Ethan realized he wasn't alone anymore. And that made all the difference. Ethan sat quietly in the cockpit of the Horizon, thinking about the strange message. Zyra and Kilo stood beside him, watching the screen closely. "Who do you think sent that message?" Kilo asked, his eyes wide with curiosity. "I don't know," Ethan replied, rubbing his chin. "But anyone watching us in an asteroid field is either a friend or someone curious enough to help." Zyra crossed her arms. "Maybe it's someone who doesn't like the Sarthan Empire either." Ethan nodded. "Could be. Let's find out." He pressed a button. Vera replied to the unknown message. "Yes, Captain," Vera answered. "What should I say?" Ethan thought for a moment. Then he said, "Tell them. We are listening. Who are you, and what do you want?" Vera sent the message, and they waited. The stars outside seemed calm, but inside, everyone was tense. Finally, Vera spoke again. Incoming reply, "Captain." "Play it," Ethan said. The voice came through, clear and calm. "I am Captain Lyra of the Free Star Alliance. We watch the Sarthan Empire closely. You have something they want, which makes you important to us." Zyra leaned closer to the screen. "The Free Star Alliance. I've heard of them. They fight for freedom in the galaxy." Kilo nodded. "They help people like us." Ethan raised his eyebrows. "Well, it looks like we're not alone in this fight after all." He pressed the button to reply. "Captain Lyra, this is Ethan aboard the Horizon. You're right. We have 2 young passengers the Sarthans are after, but we won't give them up. Can you help us?" They waited again, and soon Lyra's voice returned. "Meet us on the far side of the asteroid field. We will guide you safely. Hurry before the Sarthans return." Ethan smiled. "Looks like we got a meeting to attend." He turned to the twins. "Ready for another adventure?" Zyra grinned. "Always." Kilo pumped his fist. "Let's go." With that, Ethan took the controls. The horizon moved carefully between the giant rocks, weaving left and right. The asteroid field was like a maze, but Ethan's hands were steady. "Vera, scan for Captain Lyra's ship," Ethan said. "Scanning now," Vera replied. As they moved deeper, Vera finally spoke. "Captain, I found their ship. Sending coordinates to you now." On the screen, a bright dot appeared, showing Lyra's location. "There she is," Ethan said, steering toward the dot. As they got closer, a sleek silver ship came into view. It was shaped like a bird, smooth and fast. "Wow," Kilo whispered. "That's a cool ship." Zira smiled. "It looks powerful too." Vera spoke again. "Incoming message from Captain Lyra." "Put it through," Ethan said. Lyra's friendly voice filled the room. "Welcome, Ethan. We've been watching your brave escape. Dock with us, and let's talk." Ethan carefully guided the horizon next to Lyra's ship. With a soft click, the two ships connected. "All right, kids," Ethan said, standing up. "Let's go meet our new friends." The three of them walked to the airlock. As the door opened, they stepped into a bright hallway filled with smooth metal walls and soft lights. Waiting for them was Captain Lyra, a tall woman with short silver hair and kind eyes. She smiled as they approached. "Welcome aboard," she said warmly. "You've had quite a journey." Ethan shook her hand. "Thank you, Captain. We could use a friend." Lyra looked at Zira and Kilo. "You must be the royal twins. You're braver than most." Zira blushed but stood tall. "We just want to be free." Kilo nodded. "We don't want to go back." Lyra smiled kindly. "Well, you've come to the right place. The Free Star Alliance believes in freedom for everyone." Ethan asked, "Can you really protect them?" Lyra's eyes sparkled. "We have hidden bases and powerful ships. The Sarthans won't find them if we don't want them to." The twins looked at each other, hope shining in their eyes. "But," Lyra added, turning to Ethan, "if you want, you can join us too. We could use a pilot like you." Ethan was surprised. "Me? Join you?" Lyra nodded. "You've already proven you'll stand up for what's right. That's the kind of person we need." Ethan looked at Zira and Kilo. They smiled at him, as if saying, "Please stay with us." After a moment, Ethan smiled back. "All right, Captain," he said. "You've got yourself a pilot." Lyra grinned. "Good. Welcome to the Alliance." As they walked deeper into the ship, Lyra said, "We'll take you to one of our safe places. You'll be safe there." But just then, Vera's voice came through Ethan's small communicator. "Captain, Sarthan ship detected. They're coming fast." Ethan and Lyra looked at each other. "Well," Lyra said calmly, "looks like the adventure's not over yet." Ethan chuckled. "It never is." Zira and Kilo stood beside him, no longer scared. They were ready for whatever came next. Because now they had hope, and a team on their side. The red lights blinked all over Captain Lyra's ship, and loud alarms filled the air. The Sarthan Empire's ship was coming fast. Everyone on board began to move quickly. Ethan, Zira, and Kilo stood with Lyra on the command deck. "They found us," Kilo said in a worried voice. Lyra turned to her crew. "Stay calm, everyone," she said firmly. "We've handled worse." Ethan looked at Lyra. "What do we do now?" Lyra smiled slightly. "We escape. But this time, we do it smartly." She pointed at a star map on the large screen in front of them. "See this area?" she asked. "It's called the Nebula Drift. It's full of colorful gas clouds. If we hide inside, they won't be able to follow us." "But how do we get there before they catch us?" Zira asked. Lyra turned to her pilot, a young woman with sharp eyes. "Nova, how long to reach the Nebula Drift at top speed?" Nova typed quickly on her screen. 5 minutes, Captain. But they'll catch up in 4. Ethan frowned. "So we need a way to slow them down." Zira and Kilo looked at each other. "We can help." Zyra said suddenly. Lyra and Ithan both turned to them, surprised. You? Ithan asked. Kilo nodded. Yes, we know how to set a decoy beacon. It makes a false ship signal. They will think it's us and follow it. Lyra smiled. Smart thinking. Can you set it up fast? Zyra grinned. Faster than fast. All right, Lyra said. Let's do it. Ithan, go help them. Nova, set a course straight to the nebula drift. Ethan took the twins down a long hallway to a small control room. The room was filled with blinking lights and small machines. Okay, geniuses, Ethan said, smiling. Show me what you've got. Kilo ran to one side and opened a panel. Here's where we connect the beacon. Zyra was already typing on a small screen. I'm making the fake ship signal. It will look like we are flying the other way. Ethan watched them work. He was amazed at how fast and clever they were. Done, Zyra said proudly after a few minutes. Kilo grinned, ready to launch the beacon. Ethan pressed a button on his communicator. Lyra, the decoy is ready. Perfect, Lyra replied. Launch it now. Kilo hit a big green button, and the decoy beacon shot out into space. Back on the command deck, Lyra watched the screen. The beacon's fake signal moved quickly in the opposite direction. The Sarthans are following the decoy, Nova shouted with a smile. Everyone cheered, but Lyra held up her hand. Don't celebrate yet. They may figure out the trick soon. We must get to the nebula drift fast. Ithan, Zyra, and Kilo ran back to the command deck. We did it, Zyra said excitedly. You did great, Lyra said, giving them a proud smile. As the ship sped toward the nebula drift, the colorful clouds came into view. Beautiful pink, blue, and purple lights swirled outside the windows. Wow, Kilo whispered. It's like a dream. Ethan smiled. A beautiful hiding place. Just then, Nova frowned. Captain, the Sarthans are changing direction. They know the decoy is fake. Everyone grew quiet. They'll be here in 2 minutes, Nova added. Lyra stayed calm. We need to disappear in the nebula before they see us. Zyra looked thoughtful. What if we make our ship cold like space? What do you mean? Ethan asked. If we turn off all heat and power for a short time, their sensors won't see us. We'll look like a rock or ice. Ethan's eyes widened. That's brilliant. Lyra nodded. Risky, but it might work. She turned to her crew. Prepare for cold shutdown. The lights dimmed. The engines went quiet. The whole ship became very still. Everyone, hold on, Lyra said softly. No talking. No moving. Outside, the Sarthan ship flew closer, scanning the nebula. Inside, Ithan, Zyra, and Kilo sat together, holding hands. I'm a little scared, Kilo whispered. Ithan smiled gently. It's okay to be scared, but we're together. That's what matters. Zyra nodded. And we're smarter than they are. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Vera's voice spoke quietly. Captain, Sarthan ship has passed us. They are moving away. Everyone let out a big breath. They didn't see us. Kilo said happily. We did it. Zyra laughed. Lyra smiled. Good work, everyone. Slowly, the lights turned back on, and the ship warmed up. Course set for Alliance Base, Nova said. Ethan looked at Zyra and Kilo. You two were amazing. Zyra beamed. We make a good team. Kilo grinned. The best team. As the ship flew safely through the colorful clouds, Lyra turned to Ethan. We could use people like you and the twins in the Alliance. Will you stay? Ethan looked at Zyra and Kilo, who smiled at him with hope. Looks like we found a new family, Ethan said. Lyra smiled. Welcome to the Alliance. As the stars twinkled outside and the nebula lights glowed, the horizon and its crew flew toward a brighter future, together. The stars outside the ship looked peaceful as the Horizon and Captain Lyra's ship flew toward the Alliance base. After the long escape from the Sarthans, everyone was finally feeling a little safe. Zira and Kilo sat by the window, watching the stars. "Look how bright they are," Kilo said, smiling. "They look like diamonds," Zira whispered. Ethan stood behind them, watching with a smile. "You both have sharp eyes," he said. "It's good to notice the beauty even when times are hard." Soon, Vera's voice filled the room. "Captain, Alliance base in view." Everyone gathered at the front of the ship as a huge space station appeared. It was hidden inside an asteroid cave, so no one from the outside could see it. The base was shaped like a giant circle, with lights and ships moving around it. "Wow," Zira gasped. "It's amazing," Kilo said, wide-eyed. Lyra smiled. "Welcome to Haven Station, the safest place in this part of the galaxy." As they entered the base, robots and people waved at them. Ethan could see ships being repaired and others getting ready for flights. "This is where we plan missions against the Sarthan Empire," Lyra explained. "And now, it's your new home." Ethan, Zira, and Kilo followed Lyra as she showed them around. First, she took them to a cozy room with soft beds and warm lights. "These are your quarters," Lyra said. "You'll be safe here." Zira looked at the bed and smiled. "I've never had a room like this." Kilo ran to the window. "And we can see the stars from here." Ethan watched them, feeling happy that they finally had a safe place. Later, Lyra took them to the command room, where a big screen showed different parts of the galaxy. "We've been watching Sarthan movements," Lyra said seriously, "and we found something important." She pointed at the screen, showing a planet with green and blue colors. "This is Illyria, a peaceful planet. But now, the Sarthans are sending ships there." Zira frowned. "Why?" Lyra looked at her. "Because Illyria has a secret, a special crystal that powers starships. If the Sarthans take it, they'll become even stronger." Ethan understood. "So, we need to stop them." Lyra nodded. "Yes, but we can't send a big ship. It would attract too much attention. We need a small team." Kilo stood up. "We'll help." Lyra smiled. "I was hoping you'd say that." Ethan looked at the twins. "Are you sure? It could be dangerous." Zira took his hand. "We want to help. This is our fight too." Lyra put a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "You won't be alone. I'll send 2 of my best agents with you." Ethan nodded. "All right. What's the plan?" Lyra showed them the map of Illyria. "There's a hidden cave on the planet. That's where the crystals are. The Sarthans haven't found it yet, but they're close." She pointed at the Sarthan ship on the map. "We'll get there first. You'll go down, take a sample of the crystal, and bring it back to us. If we study it, we might find a way to stop the Sarthans." Kilo's eyes sparkled. "Like a secret treasure hunt." Lyra chuckled. "Something like that. But remember, this mission is important." Ethan agreed. "We'll do our best." Lyra handed them a small device. "This will help you communicate with us, and I'll give you a cloaking device for the Horizon, so no one will see you coming." Zira took the device. "We're ready." Before they left, Lyra took them to meet the 2 agents. "This is Kai, and this is Mira," Lyra introduced. Kai was tall with short dark hair and sharp eyes. Mira had kind eyes and carried a small backpack full of gadgets. "Nice to meet you," Ethan said, shaking hands. "We'll keep you safe," Kai promised. Mira smiled at Zira and Kilo. "I brought some fun tools you'll like." Kilo grinned. "Awesome." Lyra looked at the team. "You leave at dawn. Get some rest." Back in their room, Ethan sat by the window with the twins. "You're sure about this?" he asked softly. Zira nodded. "Yes, we want to help people like us." Kilo leaned against Ethan. "We're not scared. Not when we're with you." Ethan hugged them both. "All right. Tomorrow, we start something big. As they watched the stars shining outside, Zira smiled. Maybe one day we'll make the galaxy safe for everyone. Ethan smiled back. Yes, and it starts with us. The next morning, the Horizon was ready to fly again. The small ship stood in the docking bay, shining under the station's lights. Kai and Mira checked their equipment, while Ethan, Zira, and Kilo got ready. Ready for the adventure? Ethan asked. Ready, Kilo said excitedly. Zira nodded. Let's do this. As they stepped onto the ship, Lyra came to say goodbye. Good luck, she said. And remember, you are braver than you think. Ethan smiled. Thank you, Captain. We won't let you down. As the Horizon took off, flying out of the asteroid cave and into the stars, Zira whispered, Here we go. The mission to save Illyria and stop the Sarthans had begun, and together they were ready to face whatever came next. The Horizon flew quietly through space, moving toward the peaceful planet of Illyria. The stars twinkled outside as the small team prepared for their important mission. Inside the ship, Ethan, Zira, Kilo, Kai, and Mira sat around a small table, looking at the map of Illyria. This is where we need to go. Mira pointed at a spot deep in the mountains. The crystals are hidden in a secret cave. Kai nodded, but we have to be careful. The Sarthans are searching the area. If they find us, it will be trouble. Zira looked determined. We'll get the crystals before they do. Kilo smiled. And we'll do it together. Ethan smiled proudly at the twins. That's right. Together. As they got closer to Illyria, Mira pressed some buttons, and a cloaking shield covered the ship. Now, no one could see them. Ready for landing, Kai said as the ship entered the planet's atmosphere. From the window, they could see Illyria's beautiful lands, green forests, tall mountains, and sparkling rivers. It's so pretty, Zira whispered. The ship landed gently in a quiet valley, far from where the Sarthans were searching. All right, Ethan said, standing up. Time to move. Mira handed small backpacks to everyone. These have food, water, and tools. Take only what you need. Zira and Kilo quickly put on their packs, excited to start the adventure. The team walked carefully through the forest. Birds sang in the trees, and soft wind moved the leaves. But they stayed alert, knowing the Sarthans could be near. As they climbed up the mountain path, Kilo stopped and pointed. Look, a Sarthan ship. The group ducked behind rocks. Up in the sky, a small Sarthan ship flew by, searching. They're close, Kai whispered. We need to move fast, Mira said. They waited until the ship passed, then kept going. Finally, after a long climb, they reached a cave entrance hidden behind some large trees. This is it, Ethan said. Mira pulled out a scanner and checked inside. The crystals are in there. But the air is thick. We need masks. She gave everyone a breathing mask, and they stepped inside. The cave glowed with soft blue light. All around them, beautiful crystals sparkled on the walls. Wow, Zira said, her eyes wide. They're amazing, Kilo whispered. Mira smiled. These are the Illyrian crystals. They can power ships and make energy. Ethan picked up a small crystal and put it in a special case. This is what we need. But suddenly, Kai's communicator beeped. He looked serious. What is it? Ethan asked. Sarthans are coming this way. They must have seen something. Zira and Kilo looked scared, but Ethan put a hand on their shoulders. It's okay, we'll find a way. Mira pointed to a small tunnel. There's a back way out of the cave. We can escape that way. Let's go, Ethan said. As they moved through the tunnel, Kilo noticed something strange. Look, there's a small machine here. Mira checked it. It's a Sarthan tracker. They put it here to find the crystals. That's how they found us, Kai said. Zira frowned. Can we stop it? Mira smiled. I think so. She opened her pack and took out a small tool. If I change its signal, it will send them far away from us. She worked quickly, then nodded. Done. Now let's get out of here. The team hurried through the tunnel and out into the forest. From the distance, they could hear the Sarthans searching the cave. They'll be busy for a while, Kai said. Good work, Mira, Ethan said. They moved back to where the horizon was hidden. But when they got there, a Sarthan ship was hovering nearby, scanning the ground. They're looking for us, Kai whispered. Zara looked worried. How will we get to the ship? Ethan thought for a moment. We need a distraction. Kilo suddenly smiled. I have an idea. He pulled out a small device from his backpack. Remember when we made a fake signal before? I can do it again. That could work, Mira said. Kilo set the device and pressed a button. Far away, a loud beeping sound filled the air. The Sarthan ship turned and flew toward the sound. Now's our chance, Ethan said. The team ran to the horizon and climbed inside. Take off now, Kai called. The ship lifted off and flew up into the sky. They see us, Mira said. Hang on, Ethan shouted. Kai steered the ship fast, flying between mountains and clouds. But just when the Sarthans started chasing, Lyra's voice came through the communicator. This is Captain Lyra. We've got your back. Suddenly, 2 Alliance ships appeared, flying straight at the Sarthans. They're helping us, Zara said happily. The Sarthan ships turned and flew away. We made it, Kilo cheered. Back at Haven Station, Lyra and the crew welcomed them. You did it, Lyra said, smiling. Mira handed the crystal to Lyra. Here it is, safe and sound. With this, we can fight back, Lyra said. Zara and Kilo looked at Ethan. We did good, right? Ethan smiled. You were both amazing. Lyra looked at them. You're part of this team now. If you want, you can stay and help us on more missions. Zara and Kilo smiled wide. Yes, they said together. As the stars shone brightly outside, Ethan, Zara, and Kilo knew they had found a new family and a new purpose. Together, with Lyra and the Alliance, they would keep fighting for freedom and peace, and this was only the beginning of their great adventure.